Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I am here with Melissa Wright today, and I've been waiting for this conversation for some time as we've met years ago at a women's event and have been so curious about human design, which is what we are going to be talking about, which is your area of expertise and passion. So Melissa, thank you so much for coming on, and please introduce yourself and tell our listeners, what is your journey? How did you get to where you are and being so passionate about human design and how you can utilize it to help others?
Yeah, awesome. So my name is Melissa and I live in Maryland. I have two boys who are 12 and 16. So we're definitely in that fun teenage stage where it's that weird mix of them being a little bit more independent and also kind of not needing me as much, which is interesting. Both, sometimes that's hard, but also sometimes that's fun. Like, for example, I just spent 4 weeks in Vail, Colorado, and left my family at home. Um, but I started in human design. It's coming up on almost 6 years in August when I was first
Okay.
introduced to human design. And I found human design through a business coach who teaches people how to use retreats to create a six-figure coaching business. And so originally I was a law of attraction coach, and I definitely still obviously use law of attraction in my day-to-day life. But I found that human design is kind of that thing that fills in all of those holes of why the law of attraction didn't always seem to work for me. And so discovering human design showed me that I had been trying to live life like one of the other human design types for my whole life. And so no matter how hard I worked or how hard I tried, the things just didn't seem to work for me like they did for everyone else. And so finding out that for me, I'm a human design projector, and it's only about 20% of the population that are projectors. And that really showed me that the reason why all of the law of attraction techniques and tools that I learned in my certification back in 2011, 2012 weren't working because I wasn't actually living in alignment. I was trying to be something else. I was trying to do the things that work for most people. And it wasn't that I wasn't doing it hard enough or, all of those things that like it wasn't really that I was doing it wrong. It was just I was doing the wrong things. The things that work for most people don't work for me. And so human design really made that clear because human design shows you how you process. There are 9 different types of energy that we can see in a human design chart, and we can see which types of energy we have a consistent way that we understand and process those types of energy. And then we can see the types of energy where we're vulnerable to absorbing other people's energy and then potentially getting influenced by that. So really working with how my body is actually designed to process the different types of energy really what kind of filled in, like I said, all those gaps for why the law of attraction didn't work for me for all those years. But
Melissa, in just that few minute introduction, I'm so hooked. I'm so there's so many questions, and I actually just came back last month from Abraham Hicks cruise that I did a 9-day cruise, and have recently have begun to get more into law of attraction, and fundamentally, I believe it. I believe in energy. I believe in alignment. I believe we can all manifest our own lives. And yet, if it was that simple, everyone would be doing it. And it's not for lack of effort or lack of belief. And so I love that you're going to explain to us exactly what the human design does. And, I was taking some notes as you were talking, and I know for me, like, I actually got my human design chart read by you in a group coaching that we were a part of together. So thank you for that, because I still look back at that, and I'm a generator, and it makes so much sense. And of course, we'll talk about the different types. And yet, even knowing I'm a generator, which basically, correct me if I'm wrong, means as long as I'm in alignment with what lights me up, things will flow. That pretty much, like, in its most simplistic terms. And yet, knowing that, I still get in my own fucking
way. Yes, we all do, 100%.
We do, right? And we all have different modalities to try to get back into alignment, right? I'm a therapist. I focus on mindfulness and meditation. That's my door into the same room that we are all trying to get in, which is, how do I live my most aligned, authentic, happy, best life, right? That's what we're all trying to do.
Right.
So could you help define truly what is human design? You said there's 9 different processes. Could you broadly, for those who maybe this is the first time they're ever hearing it, don't get lost in the jargon, because I know it can be a lot of information, but could you give a really working definition so it can be relatable, integratable into helping people understand it a little bit further?
So human design, it works on the premise of the 9 energy centers. And so some of the types of energy, like we have mental energy, we have emotional energy, we have like that sacral life force energy that makes you a generator. And we get imprinted at the time that we're born based on the positioning of all the planets. So like we're talking about Mercury being in retrograde right now. So we all get impacted by the like cosmic energy or cosmic weather based on like the positioning of all of the astrological bodies. And so human design lets us look at how we were imprinted at that exact moment that we were born based on the positioning of all of those things. So it activates certain traits within our design. So we have a personality crystal that comes into our body at that moment that we're born, that gets imprinted based on the cosmic weather in that moment. And we also have what's called a design crystal that comes into our bodies while we're still in the womb, 88 days before we're born. And it doesn't matter if you're a C-section, if you're born early or born late, like you were imprinted with the correct energy, because like on the greater scheme, like you were born when you were meant to be born. And so based on the different traits that get activated within your design, you intentionally are going to process those different types of energy the way that is best meant for you so that you can live out your own unique life purpose. And it's all about how unique and different. So we all get imprinted differently with different traits. And then based on that, so we have gates. There are 64 gates in human design. So each of the astrological bodies, the planets, the sun, the moon, the earth, the north node and the south node, will activate one of those 64 traits or gates within your body graph. And it definitely is easier when you can actually look at a body graph. It's kind of like a big a big kind of concept to try to conceptualize or visualize when you haven't seen a body graph. But when you see it, you'll see that the 64 gates are spread throughout the 9 energy centers, and some of them are going to be colored up in your chart and some of them are going to be white. So the ones that are colored, you have those traits activated, and there are lines that go in between all of the different centers. And so when both sides of the lines, the gates on either center, on either side, are activated, then that is a channel that gets opened up for the energy to flow through that channel. And so those are our natural gifts and channels that we have. And it's going to give us a consistent way to understand that the type of energy that those energy centers process. And we're all meant to be unique and different, and sometimes it's easy when we see people that have a consistent way of understanding or processing different types of energy to see that as being a weakness within ourselves. And
right,
so
we go into comparison mind. Why can't I do that? 100%. They're doing that. I'm doing the same thing they're doing. Why isn't it working for me?
Right. And right, the example of even the difference between a projector, which I am, and a generator, which you are. So because you're a generator, that means that you have a defined sacral center, which is where that creative life force energy comes in. That's the way our body processes that. So you're going to have consistent access to that life force energy as long as you're doing the things that light you up, like you said, those things that are correct for you. When you do the things that are correct, when you say yes to the correct things, and when you say no to the incorrect things, you're going to feel like you have almost an unlimited supply of energy to do those things. And you're going to feel really proud of what you accomplished throughout your day. You're meant to use up that life force energy every day. And when you do, you're going to fall asleep really easily. You're going to wake up refreshed, recharged, ready to go do it all over again the next day. But for me as a projector, I don't have that same consistent access to that life force energy. I'm not meant to be constantly in that doing and using up that energy. I need to learn to be more efficient with my energy, be more selective about how I spend my energy and what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to, and not feel guilt or shame that I don't have that same level of energy that generators do. And just know that for me, I wasn't meant to. For me to live out my life purpose isn't going to require me to be constantly in do mode and in go mode and to be consistent, like you hear about all the time that, oh, you just need to be more consistent. And for me, that's not actually correct. Me trying to be consistent and do things day in, day out, all day long is actually me trying to be what I'm not, what I was never meant to be.
So that will drain you, right? And
Yes.
will not allow you to manifest the things that you're wanting to create, and that you will not feel as energized. Therefore, it's this downward negative spiral. And,
yes, right.
even
And
in just these, yeah, go ahead.
I can spend a whole lot of time and energy trying to do those things from that place of pressure because I'm absorbing that energy and like thinking that's my weakness. That's what I'm doing wrong. If I do that and everybody else does that and they get this result, but I'll do that and I'll spend all the energy and it just like does not work because it came from misaligned place from me trying to be what I'm not.
Yeah.
As opposed to when I catch myself in that mode of trying to push and trying to do, and I stop myself and I realize, okay, it's just me taking on that pressure and thinking that that's what I need to do. And when I stop and I pull back and I lean back into what does my body actually say is correct for me to do right now, that's when things fall into place for me. That's when I get into my flow. That's when success can happen. But success can never happen for me when it comes from a place of trying to be what I'm not, of misalignment, really.
And that statement you just said, success can never come from a place of misalignment. I mean, regardless of what source you're looking at for access into your own alignment, that's going to be true no matter what. Success can never come from misalignment. And
yes.
I think if we all as humans could understand fundamentally what it feels like to be aligned and what it feels like to be misaligned, we would save ourselves so much heartache. Of, like I said, comparison mind or self-judgment or feeling not worthy or feeling an inability to be successful or feeling like I'm just not meant to do the things that I thought I wanted to do.
Yes. And for me, that's where human design comes in and fills in those gaps because it is actually like a visual roadmap or blueprint for what actually is aligned for you and what's misaligned, or like how to like identify where misalignment has the biggest tendency to get activated in who you are.
So even though I'm a generator, based on my different gate, that's going to be different for each person.
Yes, 100%. Right. And it's even like deeper than that. Like there's so many levels in human design, and just know like the deeper levels don't necessarily have to make sense. But so we have 64 gates that are going to get activated. There are 6 different lines that can activate that kind of gives it a different flavor. And then below that, there are colors. There's 6 colors. And then there's tones. There's 6 tones. And then there's bases. There are 5. So each gate has 1,080 different variations for how that can show up in someone's chart. So some has like, say you have gate 64 and I have gate 64, but there's so many deeper levels of how that actually is going to show up in each of our charts so that it wouldn't be the same, right? It's kind of like,
Right.
it makes a snowflake when you draw out all the different like possibilities. And it really is how different snowflakes are, how different people are too.
It's so fascinating. And have you ever done a chart for someone where someone is like, that is just so not me? Where someone just feels like what you just read is the wrong person. You must have had my chart mixed with somebody else.
I have never actually had somebody say that. It's crazy and it's mind blowing how accurate it can be for so many different people. And like, no, usually what I hear is like, I feel like I'm talking to like a psychic or like a mind reader. And like, I don't know how you know all that stuff about me, but that is definitely me.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So
It's
could you
mind blowing.
share it? Yeah, could you share the other type? So we mentioned what generator is, which was what I am. You mentioned you're a projector. What are some of the main other ones that people might be able to, just by definition alone, see if they could self-identify a little bit of where they're at?
Yeah. So, and the majority of people are going to fall into those two. Those are the two most common. Sometimes some people are generators, and there's also a manifesting generator. But there are four main aura types. So that's what we talk about, the aura types, and it's how your aura is designed to interact with other people. And so each aura type, based when you understand how your aura is going to bump into other auras,
Mm.
then that gives you your strategy. So generators and manifesting generators, while they are a little different, essentially their aura works the same and they have the same strategy. And then the next common type would be manifestors, which is about 9 or 10% of the population. And then the last one would be reflectors. And reflectors are going to be vulnerable in all 9 energy
Mm.
centers. So their entire human design chart, all 9 centers would be white. And
Mm.
so they're only about 1% of the population though. So they're very rare. And those are the people who really need to rely on like the lunar cycle
Mm-hmm.
to
So
really
they're
get clarity,
highly
to know
sensitive to
what's coming.
energy. The reflectors are highly
Yes,
sensitive because they're like a little bit of all of it. And what is the
right.
manifester? You said,
So yeah. So the manifester is going to have an undefined sacral center. So they're not here to be the doer, but they are going to have one of the other 3 motor centers directly connected to their throat, which is our
mm,
communication and manifestation center. So they're going to have that direct channel for their motor, their energy to be manifested. So the manifestors are the only type that is able to initiate. And the
mm,
rest of us have all been conditioned to think that we need to initiate, that we need to like get things started. We need to put ourselves in the right place. We need to put ourselves out there and like have that plan and make it happen. Like the whole Nike slogan of just do it. We've all been conditioned to think that we just need to initiate more to be more successful. But the truth is that only actually works well for the 9% of the population that are manifestors. The rest of us are meant to wait and let it come to us in the right timing.
it seems so backward, of, of especially how our Western culture and society overvalues and glorifies busyness and doing and disvalues rest and relaxation and restoration. And this is something that I have been really over conditioned and under paying attention to my own life for a good handful of years, I would say. And it's only more recently, since working with my coach, who has some basis in human design as well, not nearly the extent that you do, but believes deeply in it as well, that she keeps reminding me, like, Jory, you're the generator. Like, slow down. It's such a, feels like a mind fuck to slow down to get more, but when I look at the things that I have manifested the easiest, it's when I haven't tried the hardest.
Yes.
I recently did an online challenge in my community, and I just was like, let's just have fun with this. There was a WhatsApp group, and that was it. And all I did was send out a voice memo for 10 days through a WhatsApp group. And I had the largest engagement, and it was donation based, in which I raised money for Glennon Doyle's organization. So it was like a pay it forward, even. And it generated the most engagement activity. It was so easy and so fun. And I'm like, This was easy and fun. Why am I always killing myself working so hard? Because I think I'm the manifester. I'm like, if I produce more, if I create more, if I put more content out, if I do this, if I do that, if I do this, and then I'm drained and I'm burnt out, and then it's no longer exciting. And then I'm like, well, see, I guess I'm just not meant to do it. Like that's, I think I'm not alone in that cycle.
No. Right. And really, like, what's really coming into play is our mind thinks it's the best tool we have for knowing the path forward, right? Like it wants to use logic and strategy and reason and like create the whole plan. And it wants to know what the outcome's going to be. And it wants to know what are those key milestones that let me know I'm on the right path. So it wants to plan it all out and control the outcome. And our mind, I like to say our mind is kind of like the politician that wants to do, it's going to do or say whatever it needs to do or stay to stay in power. Because before we had 9 energy centers, back when we only had 7, like most people are familiar with the 7 chakra system. And we've actually evolved. So human design believes that we evolved in 1781 to 9 energy centers.
Oh, okay.
And when we were 7-centered beings, our mind was the best tool that we had for using strategy and logic and reason to know the best path forward. But now that we've evolved, we actually have a better tool within our body that actually knows what's correct. What is that right path? It knows where we are, where we're meant to go, what we were born to do, and when those are right, like forks in the road, which way to go. But our mind wants to still be making those decisions and making those choices and strategize and control the outcome.
Well, and that's what we have. That's where we have ego too. So then we have all the stories we're telling ourselves about it, in addition to thinking logic and reason is the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really,
go ahead. I have a question.
They like to say too that like our mind thinks it's the driver of our vehicle, right? Like our body is our vehicle and our mind thinks it's the driver. But our mind is actually meant to be the passenger of the vehicle. So, you know, we have our intelligence, we have our opinions, our thoughts, our ideas, and our mind is meant to kind of notice and have those thoughts and ideas and inspirations, but just to sit in the back seat and enjoy the ride and notice what it notices and have its thoughts and not be the one that's driving and steering the car.
I love that visual. I'm a very visual person. So I love to put things into analogies that I can see that make sense. And if we could just kick our mind to the back seat and be like, hey, buddy, you're not meant to be up here driving this car. You're steering me in the complete wrong direction. Thank you for sitting back. So let me ask you this. Since so much of my focus is mindfulness and meditation, I believe meditation is the foundation to live a more mindful life, right? If I define mindfulness as awareness in its most simplest terms, the only way we can begin to live a life of more awareness is to be able to get still, to be able to get to know ourselves. Otherwise, our mind and our ego keep driving us in the wrong direction, as you just said. So for people who maybe get their chart reading and who get a reading from you and they, you know, get the plan, I would imagine, so correct me if I'm wrong, it might take time to integrate that knowledge into daily life and daily habits. Does something like meditation practice fit in? Because I know what you said of me being a generator, so I have that sacral energy. I would need to know how to pay attention to even knowing when I'm in alignment or when I'm not. Because if I'm listening to my old habit of my mind as the driver, I'm going to miss those cues. So what are some ways, and I'm guessing meditation is one, maybe it's not, but that you guide people in how to pay attention to themselves to even know, is this in alignment or is this out of alignment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that I want to kind of address in what you've asked. And it's a good question. So first I want to say that like looking at your human design chart, because I pulled yours up on my phone so I can remember what is in your human design chart. You absolutely 100% have a design that is going to do really well with meditation. There are some designs where they've been taught to think that, okay, I need to meditate. I need to quiet my mind so that I can tune in. But there are some designs that actually are designed to not be able to quiet the mind. So there's one piece too where it's not a general rule. And some people might need to find a more active form of meditation, like maybe like a walking meditation or swimming, or like,
Sure.
meditating while they're like crocheting or something. Some
Right.
people might actually need that body movement in order to turn off the voice. The other thing that I think is really important is just noticing when it is the voice of your mind and when it's the voice of your inner knowing, because they sound different.
Yeah.
And it's also going to sound different for different people and different designs. So one of the things that people will tell people a lot is like, you just need to follow your gut. And that is another thing, kind of like meditation, that tends to get thrown out there as like it works for everyone. Now for you, because you have a sacral authority, that is actually how you tune into your body's wisdom. Your body's knowing comes from your gut, from that sacral center, from response to yes or no questions. And for you, it is about following your gut. Whereas someone who has an emotional authority, for example, which is about 51% of the population, they don't have that gut knowing. They don't have access to wisdom in that way. So when someone tells them to follow their gut, it's going to just spin them out, because that's not actually how the way their body communicates what's correct for them and what's not. And so it does get really complicated based on what your human design is. So there's two key pieces in human design. There's the strategy that comes from your aura type, and then there's your authority, your inner authority. That's how your body says, this is yes for you, this is a no for you. And there are 7 of those. And so understanding which authority you have is really key. So that, for example, if you're trying to follow your gut and you're not sacral authority, then now you're trying to tap into a tool that's not actually correct for you. And there isn't any trying harder or doing it more consistently that gives you access to that, because that's not the way your body tells you what's correct.
So again, success can never come if you're out of alignment.
Exactly.
100%. So basically what you're saying, Melissa, is I need to send all my clients through you first, so that way I can know how to then help heal and guide them in the way most effective for their design.
Yeah. And even if you didn't necessarily send them all through me, but there's a few key things that I can teach you about looking at someone else's human design. So now you know how to best support them in their design, and whether or not, they need to be asked yes or no questions, or can they know in the moment, or do they need time to really like sit with it and feel into it and ride out their emotional wave? Or is it someone who just needs a sounding board and they need that space to be able to speak it out in their own voice without worrying about getting validation or permission or like someone else's opinions? But maybe there are some people that just need someone to listen to them so they can hear it in their own voice. But yeah.
Well, we're going to have a side conversation later on, because I think this is actually, hugely helpful, because I know no matter what, I can help people. I can help them heal. I know that I can help them get out of the narratives that are no longer serving them. I know that I can help people live a more mindful, aligned, authentic life. And I do know that not all my tools work effectively for each person. That doesn't mean what I'm not teaching isn't great. It just means if I could tweak how it's presented, they would be able to receive it differently. So that way I can speak to their needs and not just get them to align with what I'm saying.
But looking at your human design chart too, you are actually really amazingly designed to do exactly what you're saying. So you have a completely open emotional awareness center. So this is one of your like zones of genius, because you're going to be able to feel what other people feel. They don't actually even have to say it, but you can just feel it. You sense it, because you have this amazing sensitivity to emotional energy, and you have emotional and spiritual awareness. You also have a completely open head center. So same thing. This is another zone of genius for you, where you're just going to become really wise in that mental energy, because you're going to absorb it and amplify it. So you're going to understand what people are thinking, even if they don't say it, because you have this sensitivity to mental energy. And you also have, it's not completely open, but you still have an undefined ajna. And so that's the way the head center is how we like it's the questions we ask. It's that pressure to know. And then the ajna is how we answer those questions. So it's the way that we interpret information. It's the way we conceptualize. It's our ideas. It's the way we process information and understand things. And so again, you're still going to be sensitive to the way that other people see the world, the way that other people process information. So you're open-minded, and you're going to understand what they're feeling. And then you have an undefined throat. So you have the gift of being able to say what someone else needs to hear the way they need to hear it. So you can kind of pick up on that energy that needs to be communicated, and you can help find the right words for someone who's maybe not able to articulate it for themselves. So yeah, you have an amazing design for what you do.
Well, I'm so glad, because when I'm working, I don't feel like it's work because I feel so lit up. And so when I notice myself getting drained from it, I have to get curious, which part of this feels draining right now. And sometimes, I think I'm curious, sometimes some clients don't want to be doing the work, but they think they want to be doing the work. And I think that's what drains me, because my channels are so open to give, but I don't think they're open to receive. I don't know if that makes clear sense, but that sometimes I think people think, oh yeah, I want to go deep, and then they start like, fuck no, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to do the work to change. That's a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So Melissa, you've described this so clearly, and I know looking at a chart is anything but simple, and I know there's so many aspects to it, but I have a much better understanding, and I'm hoping that our listeners do. So this is really a design that can help really in all areas of life, in knowing. You and I were talking a few moments about like leadership roles, whether it's relationship, self journey. This sounds like just a blueprint for understanding yourself, to know if you're doing things in the right direction.
100%. Well, and really, like, not only it definitely can give you insight into all the different areas of your life, right? Whether you're doing the right type of work, whether a relationship is correct for you, or a living situation, and there's so much you can understand about yourself personally, and the energy of who you are when you're by yourself, right? That's one thing that we see when you look at your human design chart. That's what it shows you. It shows you who you are when you're not impacted by other people's energy. And then we can start to bring in someone else's chart, and now we can look at the dynamics between you and one other person. So the energy of who you are when you're in someone else's aura is completely different, because it is impacted by that other person's energy. And now it's going to light up parts of your chart that aren't lit up when you're by yourself. And the energy that we get when we have 3 up to 15 people is completely different again. So there are 12 gates that matter once you're in. So this applies to when we're in a family situation, right? So once you have that baby, now you have 3 people, and it completely shifts the energy dynamics, because now you're in penta energy as opposed to a partnership energy. And I think, anyone who's had a family has had an experience where like you bring in this new life, and now like everything's changed, and your whole schedule changed, and everything changes, because now you're in a different energy. You're in penta energy. And penta energy is really all about surviving on the material plane. And so this is what comes into play too when we're in small business, right? We're in that penta energy, as long as you have a small business, 3 to 15 people. And so this is kind of like where my passion has gone in the last year and a half or so. And I created a whole certification around it, because when you look at a small business, there are 12 key business traits that come up in the penta chart. And so you want to make sure that your small business has each of those 12 key business traits or skills covered within your penta. Otherwise, you're going to have a gap. And then it's going to give you big insight into why things are falling through the cracks, or why things aren't as successful as they could be, because you don't have all of those key traits covered within your business team. And
it makes so much sense.
To make sure that you have the right people in the right roles, right? Because a lot of times we end up, especially when it comes to work, we feel like we can only get paid to do the things that are hard, right? Doing those things where it doesn't feel like work, it can be hard, especially for someone that has an undefined heart center. It's even more challenging. to receive money for things that are just easy and they're your natural gifts and strengths. So
Right.
most of us have been conditioned in work, especially, to do the things we don't enjoy because, you know, we get paid to do it.
Mm-hmm. And we think that's
And
the highest value. If I'm getting paid for it, then it must be the right thing, which we
right. And
know,
if it was
I
really
think.
hard and I had to work and push, right, then now I can, I can understand why I received money to do the thing because it was hard and I had to work
Right.
hard. And
Versus money
sometimes
being.
make it harder to see more value in it.
Sure. Right. Yeah. And that's old conditioning, right? Of, you know, if I didn't work hard, then I must not have earned it. And if it was easy and fun, then was I valuable? Right. And do I have worth if I enjoyed it? I mean, those are such, especially Western narratives that are really hard to undo. Oh, Melissa, this is just so fascinating. And how can people find you if they are interested in learning more about their human design, especially in that business modality you were just mentioning?
Yeah. So, and I'm a projector and I'm not really good at being consistent on social media, but I do have some people on my team that try to help me with that. So we are on Facebook at Guided Life by Design. That's our company name, Guided Life by Design. I actually have a business partner who's a manifester. She lives in Iowa, that I met in my certification program, my human design certification. And we are on Instagram as well. And I'm kind of at that age where I think I'm a little bit too old. So most days I don't even remember to log into Instagram, but I do have some people in there that are helping me with that. And sometimes I do. And for Instagram, we're on Surrender Story, I believe. That's horrible. I should know this better.
Well, we'll have the links in the show notes so people
Yeah,
can
we do have
easily
the
get
links.
to you sooner.
But yeah, and one of the things that I have too is kind of a self-study human design that I put a lot of work into getting it customized. So it would just teach you the pieces of your human design chart that apply to you. So you would learn about your type and your strategy and your specific authority. Like I said, there's 7. And then it goes through all of the different centers, whether you're defined or undefined, and how that's going to show up for you, whether you're in the healthy or unhealthy expression of the center definition. So it's over 4 weeks. It's little short video lessons that you'll get the ones links right to the ones that apply to you. And that's called Find Your Aligned Path. But that's probably a really great place to start, especially for someone that's brand new into human design.
I love that. I love that. I'm definitely intrigued to learn more to make sure I'm on that cusp of, I've been working so hard for so many years, and I know I'm like at this turning point where it's all about to unfold because I've been getting more and more aligned on the way. And it's been amazing to witness what shifts when that happens. So, Melissa, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge today. I know I got a much deeper understanding and, like I said, a lot more intrigue and curiosity to learn more. So I hope those who are listening really got their interest piqued and can reach out to you and get more information on how we can all live an aligned path, because ultimately I think that's what we're all seeking. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all that you shared.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It was super fun.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. If this resonated with you, would love a rating, a review, a share, so we can get more people to journey forward to living that aligned and authentic life. And I hope that you all take care and be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.